Hello and welcome to Rams Revealed. My name is JB Long, and I hope this episode finds you and your loved ones in very good health. And we're changing things up a bit with today's episode, as Hall of Fame defensive end Jack Youngblood is our guest. 70 years young, a Rams legend, was a two-time NFC Defensive Player of the Year and earned All-Pro honors in 8 of his 14 campaigns, all with the LA Rams. He continues to be a great ambassador for the organization, as you know, as well as for many other businesses, causes, and charities. We say good afternoon to number 85, Jack Youngblood. Welcome, Jack. How are you?
JB, better than we deserve, brother. I guarantee you that.
Well said. And where are you?
Some strange times. I'm back in Florida, back in Winter Park, and we had 25 years out there, and that was enough. That was enough for a Florida boy.
Understood. I know how robust your calendar typically is. Has it been challenging to scale back as we combat this pandemic that you referenced?
Very much so. Very much so. It's times that we haven't ever experienced, and it's a little concerning when you go through these new experiences. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, the good Lord has blessed us, way beyond what we deserve, and we know that we'll come through this thing. I mean, this country is not going to be destroyed by a dadgum virus. That's not going to happen.
Well, in terms of silver linings that you've found, I imagine plenty of time for fine cigars and cold beverages.
It may, yeah. Absolutely. You gotta have something like that to ease the pain just a little bit.
I hear you. And our good mutual friend Kyle Eversgerd mentioned that you recently celebrated the arrival of a grandchild.
Oh my goodness! I didn't have any children, and now we've got a grandbaby. So I inherited my son, and he has given us one of the best, unbelievable what a child can do for you. I didn't know she could laugh that much at once. She just makes me laugh constantly. And she's not but a year and 3 months old.
Oh, that's terrific. Oh, what a joy to have, kind of shining in the darkness of our current predicament. I'm sure all the pictures and videos are life-giving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're enamored with the fact that we've got a blessing like she is.
Well, wonderful. Belated congratulations. And I thought, Jack, we could start with one of the major NFL news items of the week, which unfortunately is kind of at the other end of the circle of life, the passing of Don Shula at age 90 at his home in the Miami area. I wonder what relationship, if any, did you have with the Hall of Fame head coach?
I had some experiences with him, and he was in the hall with us. All of his players loved him, and that gives you a little more. I mean, there's talent has to be there. Desire to be a great player has to be there. But when you really like your coach, that helps. That helps a lot.
You entered the NFL in 1971. You actually played the Dolphins on Halloween of that year. Bob Greasy carried the day, 20-14. And then they famously went 14-0 and won the Super Bowl the following season. What memories do you have of observing that special run? And did you see kind of the foundation for it a year prior when you went head-to-head in Southern California?
Well, a quick story. When we went down there Halloween, we got robbed. Our locker room got robbed, and they took my helmet and probably another dozen helmets and shoulder pads too. It was a crazy thing, and so we had to share helmets that day. We teamed up with the offense and the defense teamed up, and when the offense had come off the field, we'd grab somebody's helmet. I'd grab Richie Saw's helmet, and I'd put that on, and away we go. It was, and thank goodness, Mr. Hewitt, he had he had backup jerseys because they stole our jerseys too. I mean, it was a weird experience.
That's an incredible anecdote. Thank you for sharing that with us. And before we leave 1971, the year you were drafted, since we've recently had the most recent class of draft picks, I wonder what you remember about being selected by the Rams and how you were notified that you had become a member of the National Football League.
Oh, this is a great story. I love it. I had no concept that I was going to be drafted. Back 1971 was so far away from what it is today. It's amazing. Yet my defensive line coach, he told me, he said, Jack, you'll get a chance to go to camp someplace, but I don't think you're going to get drafted. And I went, all right, that's all I need. I mean, I need that opportunity to get there and see if I can play at that level. So I don't even remember. I remember one guy, and I can't remember his name because I can't remember anybody's name anymore. I'm so old. They didn't tell you. They didn't give you much information back then. There wasn't much. So I wasn't that excited about the draft, but the local newspaper there in Gainesville asked me to come on and sit down with them on the day of the draft and share what little information I had with some of the players who were drafted in that first day. So I'm sitting there and I see Plunkett go off. I see oh my gosh, all of that first four of them were quarterbacks, and I'm sitting there and after about an hour of watching this stuff go off over a teletype. Now, do you youngsters know what a teletype is?
I think it's safe to assume that most of this audience does not, Jack. but please go on. After Jim Plunkett and Archie Manning and Dan Pastorini,
absolutely. I watched all those guys, and I knew a couple of them a little bit, and had seen them play, on television. But so I'm sitting there, and I'm going, this is boring. I don't have anything to do here. And about that time, the phone rings, and in the room where we were watching it come across the teletype, and the phone rings, and they said, Jack, it's the coach of the Los Angeles Rams. I put my hand over the receiver. And I look at the guys and I go, who's the coach of the Rams? I had no idea. And the first thought that went through my mind is I'm standing there and I'm looking at the guys, the reporters, and I'm thinking, what's happening here? The boys at the dorm are messing with me. They're messing with me. They're trying to see how I'll respond to this. And so I answered the phone. I said, hello. And it was Tommy Prothro. Tommy was he had just taken that job as the head coach there, came from UCLA. And Tommy said, Youngblood, he had that South Carolina accent. Youngblood, we're going to draft you. What's the response? Well, I mean, what am I supposed to say? I stuttered a little bit and said, well, thank you, coach. And exactly at that time, it started coming across the teletype. Jack Youngblood, defensive end, University of Florida, to the Los Angeles Rams, number 21.
That's incredible. I just took a quick glance back through your college football schedule to see how far west you would have traveled for football in those days, and it doesn't look like you got hardly out of the Eastern time zone. I wonder, had you been to California or Los Angeles at that stage of your life?
I had not been past the Mississippi.
That's incredible.
Literally. And that's a whole nother world that we could talk about it in some other time. So we had some experiences there.
Sure.
But no, I had not been past Tuscaloosa, and I didn't, and I missed not Tuscaloosa,
Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
And my first experience with coming to LA was for the rookies. The first training time back in the spring, and I can remember coming into LA, the planes coming down, and for some reason the thought went through my head, and I said, I wonder what number I'm gonna have. It'd be nice to be able to wear number 74. And I get to the training camp, and as I walk in the door, Mr. Hewitt had hung Merlin's jersey on the front of the locker. The first thing you see as you walk through that door was number 74, Olsen. And I looked at that and I went, I don't guess I'm going to get that number.
Taken. Oh, that's incredible.
That was taken. I mean, whatever. Just give me a number. That's all. That's all I need.
Hearing you talk about arriving for rookie camp made me think that this current group is in unprecedented modern times in terms of remote learning sessions, getting their playbook through their Microsoft Surface devices or Zoom meetings. You didn't have any of that, of course, and yet you found a way to be prepared for each new season. How did you manage in terms of your mental and physical preparation? And is there any advice you would share to this group that isn't going to get the normal off season that their predecessors have?
There's a lot there. They're going to experience something that's going to be a tremendous challenge for them. Of course, we had the experience of having. I had three of the best defensive linemen in the world, that were my teammates. Of course, I was a rookie, but I hope that these kids understand today that they have to learn. They have to learn not only the playbook and what the coaches are trying to say to them, but also listen to the veteran players. Donald has a tremendous opportunity right there to get him some help, to bring on some of the defensive linemen to help him, be successful at what he's doing. He's going to be successful by himself, but it makes his job a whole lot easier if he's got some assistance.
Yeah.
If his other players understand that we're all one, and we rely on the triangle of the people that are around you.
What about from the head coach's standpoint? What do you think Sean McVay's challenge is this year uniquely? His fourth as a head coach. Now he's got 3 new coordinators, and of course these unprecedented circumstances. And oh, by the way, he's competing in what we think is the best division in the NFL.
Yeah, it is. He's got his job cut out for him. There's no question there. The basic thing is have the attitude that we're going to dominate the line of scrimmage, and he does that. He does that with both the offense and the defense. And if he can do that, if he can get that message across on every snap, that's our line of scrimmage, and we're going to play it on their side. That's what he has to. He has to preach every stinking day. You've got to hammer that in so that come Sunday morning, when they put on their gear, they get announced and introduced on that field. Every snap has to have. We have to win that snap. That's the message I would like to hear him, and know that that's what he's preaching.
I'm sure it'll definitely be a part of his message to the 2020 Rams. Jack, I've been watching the Chicago Bulls documentary Last Dance, like so many of us have during quarantine. And last week they delved into Michael Jordan's endorsements a bit, and notably Gatorade's Be Like Mike campaign was featured prominently. Could you share your connection to the formative years of Gatorade with us? Because I thought of you when I was watching that documentary.
It was horrible. It was horrible, but we trusted in the two guys that were making this stuff back in the day, back in the late '60s and early '70s. Dr. Cade literally, we used to make this. We didn't make it; the trainers did, in a number 10 wash tub, and they would make it and then put ice in there, and then they would put it on the field, and we had literally, this is not exaggeration, we had 10 cups, and we would go over there and grab a 10 cup and dip it into the number 10 wash tub and drink the Gatorade, and it was every day it was different. During practice, every day was different. One day it was salty, one day it was too sweet, one day it was weak. One day it had too much water in it. One day it had too much the ingredients in it. I mean, so we were the guinea pigs. Basically, we were the guinea pigs. One day we had a little scrimmage, and we came off the field, and my middle linebacker, Mike Kelly, bless his heart, he's with Jesus now. He grabs a cup and he tilted it back and started chugging it, and he fainted. He fell backwards, and we're standing around him, and we're all going, and then we look at our cups and going, "Oh hell no, we're not doing that."
Little did you know then that it would become associated with one of the greatest athletes the world has ever seen all those years later.
Absolutely. It was a tremendous product. And what up, the concept of it is what was intriguing to me. Is how did they come up with, that's what we need to do. Keep those, the formula in your system, especially your muscle system. You keep it at that right balance so that you can go and perform and not have cramps and not be fatigued.
Jack, speaking of endorsements, I read this week that in the mid-1970s you did some spots for In-N-Out Burger. Was that the case? And do you have recollections of those campaigns?
Yeah, we did that commercial at in Long Beach at the training facility. We shot it on the field there one afternoon, and I know I missed. I had not done a lot of commercials, so I was having a little hard time remembering my lines. I must have gone through 40 hamburgers trying to get it right. So that
taking bites in between your lines, you're saying?
Right. I was taking a bite and then saying, and then I was changing up. It was hilarious, and they were laughing at me, and I was laughing with them. But we loved them. I loved the In-N-Out Burger. There's no question about that.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask if you wanted to weigh in on the raging debate about the top takeout hamburger, whether you're in the Five Guys or Shake Shack or Whataburger or In-N-Out camp. I'm not sure how many of those you sampled or if you indulged to this day.
I've tried them all, but In-N-Out's the best.
There you go. You're still getting royalty checks, then, I assume.
Well, I hope so.
From burgers to pancakes, something you never experienced as a defensive lineman. But I did want to ask, just as kind of a tangent here in this conversation, who was the toughest opposing offensive tackle you faced as a player?
There was 3 or 4 of them that were the top of the niche. Michael Wright, Dan Deerdorf, Ron Yeri, my rivals, that were on winning football teams, and they were great athletes themselves. But I've always said this, I kind of give them credit for allowing me to be the player I was, because I knew that they were going to bring the best out in me when we competed against each other. Mm-hmm. So that was that was the driving, interest there for me. All right, I'm playing against the best that's in the business. I better be at my best.
Well, you certainly were, even though the NFL did not recognize sacks as a statistic until 1982. Research shows you should have had at least 151 and a half career. And I wonder where you stand on this current debate as well. Sacks are currently, Jack, being discounted a bit as a statistic in terms of pass rushing in favor of pressures. Are you okay with that, or is the sack still the ultimate measure of your success?
Well, pressure is part of the sack. I mean, you can't sack the guy if you don't have pressure on him. So I'm not really concerned. Yeah, it's nice if you're within 2 steps of him, but he still gets the ball away and catches or not catches it. That's another issue. But no, you've got to get him on the ground or take the ball away from him, one or the other. And that was that's the goal. I mean, Merlin and Deacon taught me. He said, big boy, when you rush the passer, that's the first thing we do. We rush the passer and stop the run on the way. And that was our motto.
And Aaron Donald, who you've already mentioned in this conversation, is continuing that great legacy for this franchise. He's still very much in his prime, and he may have career best years ahead of him. However, as a member of the Hall of Fame yourself, do you think it's fair to assume Aaron's enshrinement is secure, even if he never played another snap?
Yeah, you don't want to rely on that as being significant. It's about every snap. It's about every play. It's about every time you put that helmet on and go and play. You can't look at it like, okay, I'm already in the Hall of Fame. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna show up. You can't do that. That's not what it's about. It's about every game that you play in. You've got to be the dominant one there.
I'm sure Aaron would agree with that assessment and that sentiment, because it seems like when he practices, when he lifts weights, when he plays, he's playing not against the guy across from him, but against the all-time greats for a spot in Canton where you are. And I'm thinking recently about this Hall of Fame class of 2020, which includes a Ram, Isaac Bruce. And Jack, like everything on the sports calendar right now, this summer ceremony in Canton is very much in jeopardy. I read this morning that there are actually 5 different contingency plans for the kickoff game and ceremony. Knowing how special those moments and events and speeches are to everyone involved, do you have any recommendations or thoughts on how the Hall should navigate a potential postponement this summer?
No, it's above my pay grade. No, that's I don't know how we're going to do this. I mean, we may have to. If you do want to have it, it's going to be interesting how we deal with the distance aspect. You know, when you put 75,000 people into a bowl, it's hard. And not only them, but everybody that's around the game that day. It's going to be interesting to see how we deal with that, and how far we can allow ourselves to be exposed if it is still an issue in September.
How much do you enjoy that annual reunion?
Oh my goodness! It is there again. We get together and we last the entire 4 days. It is just it is a genuine blessing to be able to be there with your other Hall of Famers.
Well, thank you for sharing some of that laughter with us today. My final question has to do with the crowning achievement of your career and how you think back on it, whether it's the honors or the consecutive starts, your kind of Iron Man streak. As you sit there at your home in Florida and have some time to reflect, what's the first thing that bubbles up?
First thing that bubbles up is that good Lord gave me the ability to do this. And it wasn't something that I had as a young man. I had no aspect of even playing at the high school level. But the good Lord had something in a plan for me, and it wound up in Canton, Ohio.
Well, you found out on a teletype, and this year's class found out on Twitter probably. So we've come a long way. But I hope that a special and ordained kind of path is available for at least one of the newest members of the Rams, and I can't wait to meet them and to have you, in Los Angeles to meet them as well, Jack.
That would be a pleasure to meet. Absolutely.
Be well. Enjoy your granddaughter. Send us a picture, please. All right.
Absolutely.
Hall of Famer Jack Youngblood, everyone. And before you go, please do take a moment to rate this podcast and leave us a review. And if you made it this far, give us a shout on social media. Always great to hear from you. If there's anything else I can do for you during these stay-at-home measures, please do reach out. Would love to connect and assist in any way. For now, thanks to Jack Youngblood, Matt Israel, Jory Hirsch, and I am JB Long. This has been Rams Review.